He found her in the parlor, collapsed on the floor in her shiny green gold party dress, a champagne goblet in one hand, the carpet littered with broken glass. She was obviously asleep, so he sat at the magical breakfast table. He blinked at the empty white cloth and the gleaming plates. There was no food. All his life, wondrous foods had awaited him here, but not today. "Mother, wake up!" He ran to her. "Shall I go to school? Where's the food? Wake up!" He ran up the stairs. The highlands were cold and shadowed, and the white glass suns no longer glowed from the ceiling on this day of sullen fog. Down dark corridors, through dim continents of silence, Edwin rushed. He rapped and rapped at the school door. It drifted in, whining by itself. The school lay empty and dark. No fire roared on the hearth to toss shadows on the beamed ceiling. There was not a crackle or a whisper. "Teacher?" He poised at the center of the flat, cold room. "Teacher!" he screamed. He slashed the drapes aside. A faint shaft of sunlight fell through the stained glass. Edwin gestured. He commanded the fire to explode like a popcorn kernel on the hearth. He commanded it to bloom to life. He shut his eyes to give Teacher time to appear. He opened his eyes and was stupefied at what he saw on her desk. Neatly folded was the gray cowl and robe, atop which gleamed her silver spectacles. And one gray glove. He touched them. One gray glove was gone. A piece of greasy cosmetic chalk lay on the robe. Testing it, he made dark lines on his hand. He drew back, staring at Teacher's empty robe and glasses. The greasy chalk. His hand touched a knob of a door, which had always been locked. The door swung slowly wide. He looked into a small brown closet. "Teacher?" He ran in. The door crashed shut. He pressed a red button. The room sank down, and with it sank a slow, mortal coldness. The world was silent, quiet and cool. Teacher gone and Mother sleeping. Down fell the room with him in its iron jaws. Machinery clashed. A door slid open. Edwin ran out. The parlor! Behind was not a door, but a tall oak panel from which he had emerged. Mother lay uncaring, asleep. Folded under her, barely showing as he rolled her over, was one of Teacher's soft gray gloves. He stood near her, holding the incredible glove. For a long time, finally he began to whimper. He fled back to the highlands. The hearth was cold, the room empty. He waited. Teacher did not come. He ran down again to the solemn lowlands, commanded the table to fill with steaming dishes. Nothing happened. He sat by his mother, talking and pleading with her and touching her. Her hands were cold. The clock ticked and the light changed in the sky, and still she did not move. And he was hungry, and the silent dust dropped down on the air through all the worlds. He thought of Teacher, and knew that if she was in none of the hills and mountains above, then there was only one place she could be. She had wandered by error into the outlands, lost until someone found her, and so he must go out, call after her, bring her back to wake Mother, or she would lie forever, with the dust falling in the great darkened spaces. Through the kitchen, out back, he found late afternoon sun and the beasts hooting faintly beyond the rim of the world. He clung to the garden wall, not daring to let go, and in the shadows, at a distance, saw the shattered box he had flung from the window. Freckles of sunlight quivered on the broken lid and touched tremblingly over and over the face of the Jack, jumped out and sprawled with its arms overhead in an eternal gesture of freedom. The doll smiled and did not smile, smiled and did not smile, as the sun winked on the mouth. And Edwin stood, hypnotized, above and beyond it. The doll opened its arms toward the path that led off between the secret trees, the forbidden path smeared with oily droppings of the beasts. But the path lay silent, and the sun warmed Edwin as he heard the wind blow softly in the trees. At last he let go of the garden wall. "Teacher!" He edged along the path a few feet. "Teacher!" His shoes slipped on the animal droppings, and he stared far down the motionless tunnel blindly. The path moved under the trees. The trees moved over him. "Teacher!" He walked slowly but steadily. He turned. Behind him lay his world, and its very new silence. It was diminished. It was small. How strange to see it less than it had been. It had always and forever seemed so large. He felt his heart stop. He stepped back. But then, afraid of that silence in the world, he turned to face the forest path ahead. Everything before him was new. Odors filled his nostrils, colors, odd shapes, incredible sizes, filled with eyes. If I run beyond the trees, I'll die, he thought, for that's what Mother said. You'll die, you'll die. But what's dying? Another room? A blue room, a green room, far larger than all the rooms that ever were? But where's the key? There, far ahead, a great half-open iron door. It's a wrought iron gate. Beyond, a room as large as the sky, all colored green with trees and grass. Oh, Mother, Teacher! He rustled, stumbled, fell, got up, ran again. His numb legs under him were left behind as he fell down and down the side of a hill, the path gone, wailing, crying, and then not wailing or crying any more, but making new sounds. He reached the great rusted, screaming iron gate, leapt through. The universe dwindled behind. He did not look back at his old worlds, but ran as they withered and vanished. The policeman stood at the curb, looking down the street. These kids, I'll never be able to figure them. How's that? Asked the pedestrian. The policeman thought it over and frowned. "Couple seconds ago, a little kid ran by. He was laughing and crying and laughing both. He was jumping up and down and touching things. Things like lampposts, the telephone poles, fire hydrants, dogs, people. Things like sidewalks, fences, gates, cars, plate glass windows, barber poles. Hell, he even grabbed hold and looked at me and looked at the sky. And you should have seen the tears. And all the time he kept yelling and yelling something funny." "What did he yell?" asked the pedestrian. "He kept yelling, 'I'm dead, I'm dead. I'm glad I'm dead. I'm dead, I'm dead. I'm glad I'm dead. I'm dead, I'm dead. It's good to be dead.'" The policeman scratched his chin slowly. "One of them new kid games, I guess." That's the end.